Lord Moylan, I'm a bit speechless, so I'll hand over to you. What do you think to that?
I think it's a joke. I mean, what it's an attempt to do, really, if you're serious, is to clean up the reputation of Ed Davey as somebody who was part of a coalition government and a minister in a coalition government, which he now tries to pretend, you know, he's attacking. You know, he was there for putting up the university fees. He was there in charge for a period of the post office, not the only minister in charge of the post office scandal, but he was for a time in charge of it. So he wants to present himself as a nice, lovely, rollicking, sweet person who had nothing to do with all of that. So it's trying to clean up his reputation. And I don't think it's really washing. This is a serious election. I think people are seriously worried about the direction of the country. And there's a real choice in front of them. And Ed Davey's not part of that choice, fundamentally. You know, if they, at the moment, they're not the third largest party in Westminster. The SNP is bigger than they are. Yeah,
but they're doing very well in the polls, Lib Dems.
Well, let's see what happens on Friday. But, I mean, his ambition is that he might get... If he gets more seats than the SNP, he'll score that as a win. Well, since the SNP only stands in Scotland, I don't think that's really, you know, much of a triumph. But that's the extent of his ambition. He's not a serious figure in this election. The choice is Conservative or Labour government. That's it.
I always ask you this at home, but are you, for example, a former sub-postmaster? When you see these kind of things, how does that make you feel? Of course, many people say that Mr Bates tried to meet with Mr Davey and that meeting was not forthcoming. Does it insult you? Do you think the past is the past, life moves on? Give me your thoughts. What do you make to it all?
I mean, it's hard to believe, isn't it? Like, what is he thinking of? Who is advising him to do stunt after ridiculous stunt like this? I mean, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. What he's trying to do is desperately get somebody to notice him, because the truth is, not actually, this election, it's not even about Labour. It's all about the Tories, isn't it? This is the election where the country decides we've had enough of the Tories and we want them out. And as I say, Labour's only in the election because they've become moderate, mainstream, reasonable, and they're now electable. But, like, the Lib Dems are not in the election at all. I mean, who could tell you a single Lib Dem policy? Who cares about anything that they say or do?
I can tell you a Lib Dem policy. They want to strengthen social care, for example. And actually, whilst I think the bulk of what Ed Davey has done is absolutely... It's just embarrassing, really. If that was my dad, I would just be trying to discern him rapidly, because I think it's cringeworthy. But one of the things that he has done, and it really had cut through with me, perhaps it did with some other parents, was when he did that piece with his son. I mean, it divided opinions. Some people have said that he shouldn't have even done that. But actually, when he was talking with his son, who has additional needs, and he was talking about the social care sector and all the failures that have gone on there, and actually wanting to invest more money in resolving that sector, that was a sensible thing.
Don't you think that he's cheapened that with this kind of nonsense? Because, I mean, this is not even just a one-off. I mean, I don't know how many he's done, but he's doing this kind of nonsense every day, isn't he? If he's actually a serious politician with serious things to say, and he wants to have a serious conversation with the country about his son's additional needs and other people with social care needs, like, how is he doing it any good by bungee jumping?
Yeah, and it's not just bungee jumping.
Seriously.
It's not just bungee jumping, is it? I mean, there he is now in his tight lycra, coming down a water slide. What else have I seen him do? I've seen him go down hills with his legs akimbo, on push bikes. I'm sure I will have missed some more antics that's gone on. He's there. I don't think that's a silly antic, actually. He's doing CPR. I think that's quite sensible.
I don't think that's an election stunt, actually.
Right.
That's an old film of him doing CPR, and, of course, it is sensible, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that's doing in my montage of Ed Davey election gaffes, that CPR, because that is a sensible one. I will give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Look, let's talk also then about Sir Keir Starmer, because he said if he does get elected as the Prime Minister, he's essentially going to down tools on a Friday night at 6 o'clock to spend time with his family. I can only assume that he knows that Dewberry Tavern opens on a Friday night, and that he's choosing in to me to watch our goings-on for the day. That's good quality family viewing.
So every good weekend kicks off.
Yeah, I don't blame him for doing that. But on a serious note, do you think that you can have this kind of strict line of work-life balance if you want to be Prime Minister?
No, but it is very difficult. I mean, any Prime Minister, anyone in a serious office like that, is going to struggle to have the right amount of time for their family and for their friends. Well, they will see their family, even if relations deteriorate to some extent. Almost worse is the fact they stop seeing their friends. They don't see their friends at all. They get cut off socially because the pressure of the job is so much that there's hardly ever any of that chance to have an evening out or an evening where you kick off your shoes or whatever it is that you would do with your friends. And it's going to be difficult for Keir Starmer, as it has been for nearly every other Prime Minister who's had a family, and he'll have to find it, to give him credit, he'll have to find, if he's Prime Minister, if he's elected, he will have to find his way through that, and it won't be easy straight off. But no, he will not be able to say, I'm switching off the mobile at 6 o'clock on a Friday, let me know what happens on Monday morning.
Do you agree with that?
You can't be like that.
Yeah, I basically do agree with that. And Keir Starmer knows that. I mean, Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions. He was basically the Chief Executive of the Crown Prosecution Service with 7,000...
His father was a toolmaker.
7,000 staff, the bit he talks about less is £500 million budget, 7,000 staff, half of them lawyers. He's actually, he's been at the heart of government. He's run big, serious organisations, like on a tiny fraction of the scale of being Prime Minister of the country. But he knows that if something happens at 6:30 on a Friday or 6:30 in the morning, I mean, it doesn't matter when it happens. If he needs to be disturbed, he'll be disturbed, and they won't think... I mean, they will think twice, but he's not going to get the time with his family that he would like.
So why say it then? Why say, this is what I'm
that's really
quoting.
the interesting question.
Yeah, this is what I'm quoting. We've had a strategy in place.
And why say it in that emphatic way, as if it was realistic? It's not realistic.
Yeah, this is, in case you don't know what I'm talking about, I will give you the quote. He's apparently told Virgin Radio, we've had a strategy in place and we'll try to keep to it, which we carve out really protected time for the kids. So on a Friday, and I've been doing this for years, I will not do a work-related thing. After 6 o'clock, pretty well come what may. He says there are a few exceptions, but that's what we do. So why say that?
Well, because what he's saying is, if we're not going to plan anything on a Friday night, I'll keep Friday night free for the family and we'll make a real effort to protect that. And I believe he has done that, and I believe he will do that. But he'll get a lot less Friday nights from next week onwards than he has been ever used to in the past, guaranteed, because stuff just happens, doesn't it?
Certainly does.
I wouldn't, if I was a Labour cabinet, hoping to be a Labour cabinet minister after the election, therefore be expecting the telephone to ring after 6 o'clock on a Friday. If you haven't been rung by 6 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been called by 6 o'clock on Friday, you are not in Keir's cabinet.